That is some signature, isn't it?
Yes.
You can say that again.
You're going to the bank with
I
that one. I thought we made a mistake at first.
What did it say about his personality?
There's a bit around the bar, Anyway.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's about time to start the meeting. First on the agenda is, do we have any apologies?
We have apologies from councillors Chalice, Carza, Memoranda Cameron and Turner.
That's going to be recorded. Is there any declaration of interest to be received? Any grant request for this concession is appropriate? Okay, so let's move on to item number 3 on the agenda. The minutes to be approved and adopted. The minutes of the full council held on Wednesday, the 26th of June, 2024. Is everybody agree? Thanks. Okay, with this is number 3. Huh? When we come to item number 4 on the agenda, it's the public participation. With regards to question, 15 minutes. Is there anybody in the public? No. It's empty. Okay, now we'll move on to item number 5 on the agenda, Stapleton Garden and Lufkin to consider and approve the option agreement between Elm Street and Bournemouth Town Council, Mr. Gary Dawson, and Gibb, and Griggs. The option agreement, so it's on the table for discussion. I think all of you folks have the agenda item number 5 in your possession. Is there anything to be added or subtracted to it? Or then we can just go for,
Yeah, I wanted to ask, please, if officers can confirm that the council's taken independent legal advice that this options agreement achieves everything that the council intends it to achieve without creating any unforeseen issues or liabilities, and that it represents best value in terms of use of public funds. I appreciate that a lot of work's been put into it, and some of us have moved to and fro with some comments, but I think fundamentally we need to understand that the appropriate due diligence has taken place. It's been drafted by the developer and the landowner, which is eminently reasonable and sensible, and has probably saved the council a lot of resource. But we just need to be really clear that our own lawyers have seen this and are comfortable that we're signing it. And in my view, that's our primary duty here, over and above any specific elements of the agreement.
Thanks. Yeah, Madam Clerk.
So I'm happy to say we have sought independent legal advice from our solicitors. It's been through a number of versions of the option agreement, and when changes have come back, those items have been addressed as we would like. The final points with regards to the amendment of that clause 10.1. So we did go back to the solicitor on that one. We also spoke to the developer, Our solicitor only works part-time, so we've been a bit tight on time for this one in order to get it done. In the meantime, I've also spoken to a local property development company, just as a extra pair of eyes over it. So they've not offered indemnified advice, but as somebody completely detached from the situation, is this a standard clause? For which the answer was absolutely, it's completely wrong. So our solicitor has been involved since February, and has been through it with a fine-tooth comb, and has no particular issue with that additional option, but just wanted some clarification as to why it was brought in at the last moment. The reasoning behind it being brought in and attached to that email was for clarification on the dates that it swaps. There's about 17 different solicitors all passing paperwork, and it's designed just to smooth out any lumps and bumps in the timing.
So it'll be done on the same day, isn't it?
Yeah, Councillor Newmark, do you want to?
Yeah, so I mean, and that's very reassuring, thank you, Julian. What I would propose is that if you know, the council is minded to approve the agreement this evening, that we do it conditionally upon receiving that final piece of advice on the revised clause 10.1 from our solicitors, so that we do have that indemnified legal opinion before we actually sign on the dotted line. I think that's reasonable under the circumstances.
Okay, and then we'd have to say what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So just a question for my clerk, would we need to have another extraordinary meeting in order to then sign?
No, I'm proposing
No,
that we
no,
approve
we
it
approve.
conditional
Conditional.
upon, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
What was that?
Hey,
What was that, Alan?
Just
Did
say this
anybody
now.
can hear?
This is a case of exchanging one piece of ground for another area.
Yeah,
We're giving up Greenbelt because the allotments is considered like a Greenbelt. What will happen now? Somebody else comes along, another builder, and says, I found a piece of ground somewhere in wherever it is. I'm just being sarcastic, but it's Honolulu. And he said, I'll get you that piece of ground if you give us this nice piece of Greenbelt and we can build our houses. How can we stop that?
Pardon me, first of all, before any question goes about you, if you go through the chair, please.
Yes.
I want to establish that and then, so, yes, I will go on. Yeah, no, after what he has said, and then I'm just putting on the table now. If anybody wants to talk, then I'll be talking first.
So I would say any future agreements with the idea of swapping any land would be up to a vote of the full council again anyway, so there's that measure for security in place. We have had to apply for permission from the Secretary of State in order to dispose of our land, even though we're acquiring new land. One of the questions on that is, what is the distance between the old land and the new land? So ours is currently, I think it's 45 metres between the outside one to the beginning of the other. I would imagine that if it was 3,000 miles, the Secretary of State wouldn't give permission anyway.
I'm just being,
Yes,
because this is starting a precedent.
Yes.
Wherever it is, it's a green belt going away for building and we'll take somewhere else out of the area. This is the point. It's out of the area.
Yes.
It's Boreham Wood. We're Boreham Wood. We're not Shenley. We are thinking of ourselves. And I hear these people say, why are we giving up our own green belt where we'll have to find some other people will take it in another area?
Okay. Yeah, Councillor Newmark, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just a few points on that. I understand the concern, and I've seen people raise it, but first of all, of course, what we're not doing today is agreeing to any development on any land at all. We're simply agreeing an options agreement. That might make it possible for that to happen in the future, but signing an options agreement, which is very specific to this piece of land, doesn't create any precedent at all. Secondly, if the options agreement is realised and the project is going to go ahead, it's absolutely explicitly clear in here that it still requires planning permission. So we're not taking the decision to as to whether or not development can take place on greenbelt land. That will be decided by the planning committee at the borough council, and they'll have to decide that on its own merits. And thirdly, I think the reason this is such a good arrangement is that this is greenbelt in name only. The reality is it's a grey belt site. I mean, the state that it's in hardly conjures up images of sort of lovely green fields or anything like that. It's exactly the kind of greenbelt land that the government is now saying needs to be prioritised to provide much needed housing. So I think we're very much aligned with the national drive on this.
Thanks for your contribution. Does anybody want to make additional contribution?
Isn't it,
Yeah, Councillor.
isn't it better for us to take this on? That we have more for our money, don't we, on the other
Yes.
side of, I mean,
Yeah.
it is, isn't it?
Yeah,
We have
it's-
more.
well, yeah.
And
We've got,
I understand
what
what,
Gillian's got we've got what we're losing and what we're gaining, but we're not losing anything.
This is our current allotment land here. This is the area where we don't have access.
Yeah.
Only by agreement of the
Yeah,
current
we've had that
landowner.
long
So
time.
this is why we're looking into it. If we had true access there,
This would have definitely come up.
and this is the area we're swapping for, which is double the size.
And we've got access and we've got, water, how many water pipes?
There's water pipes, it will be pre-dug as allotments. There's a facilities building that will be disabled access. We will have a
Electric
safer
gates.
access onto the road. There's also a biodiversity area, beehives.
it was very hot, it was not conducive to what we've been doing for this one, because we've had a lot of problems because of that little bit of land in between.
Yes.
And he could have done what he wanted actually
Yes.
at any time.
Uh,
Nice guy, but I'm just saying that it's,
Yeah, I'm aware of it because of Tracy, and Rebecca and Steve and I, we visited the area and we've seen that if we don't go about with this thing, then
I've also seen the area, yeah.
the allotment holders will really have problems.
They won't be able to get on there at all, because they can't get the car, so they're not gonna be lugging their wares up on, up on their back, are they?
How about
It's
this?
just, it's null and void, it's just, it's a no-win situation, really.
But I can't see,
Oh, I can, because,
Alan's,
yeah, I
what
can.
you say,
It
one
can.
hundred percent.
It's only gonna be purely used for allotments land, it's not going to be used for building. Yes. That's what's called.
It's, yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
So what's the reason why it's structured in this way as an option to buy the land? Why not just a sort of outright swap? There's a specific reason there why it's structured in this way.
Oh, yes, the chair.
So.
I mean, go ahead.
So it's structured in this way because it will be a land swap all at the same time, conditional upon us having Secretary of State approval. So we can't go through anything until planning has been granted for the varying house builders.
So the sale, excuse me, the sale doesn't take place until you've got planning.
The
Is that what
option,
you're saying?
no, we won't get planning, so the.
No, I'm saying the builders, Greeks will get the plan.
Yes, so it's an option that's conditional, so when the planning is agreed, they will buy the piece of land from Mr. and Mrs. whoever over the road, that they will be swapping for us. The land will then be swapped for ours on the same day, so they can't buy it from us and swap because they don't currently own it. So it's sort
It's
of
got to be done.
a bit of a move, one round the other, all at the same time.
Yeah, thanks, Alpha. The only thing we need to be clear about is obviously once this happens, well, if it happens, obviously depending on planning approval, the transition also with the allotment holders. Being a former allotment holder, people will be getting their winter crop ready now, so we need to make sure that, there's little interruption for them as well, because there will be, obviously. So it's something we need to take as objective. Well, that's the, yes.
Yeah, please.
So to answer on that one of the parts of the agreement is that when the option goes through, before it's all finalised as part of the option, the new allotment land will be prepared as allotments by the developer in advance of us, so we will have a license to occupy our current land
Until we can
until that is ready.
move
Any
that.
winter crops, the developer will give permission for the allotment holders to double up, really plant their winter crops before they even give up their summer crop sites, so they can get them in the ground 9 months before they have to give up the other one, so there should be no interruption in the
Brilliant.
growing season. There may be some odd things that are.
Yeah.
It is, but it's going to be a gradual transition, so there's no one really, less disruption.
Thank
Be
you.
aware of the allotment holders.
Did I see,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very specific question, but I appreciate that the options notice gets served on the council within 10 days of successful planning application. In the event that either the planning application is not successful and they have to submit a revised one, or in the event that they decide for any other reason to withdraw that application and submit a revised one, the council, as in the town council, under this agreement, needs to issue a decision noting its approval or otherwise of that planning, the new planning application, within 10 days' time. Now, I appreciate it was originally 5 days, and I wrote in saying, I don't think it's possible for this council to legally take a decision in 5 days. I appreciate that it is possible to legally issue papers and take a decision within 10 days, but given that the planning system works 365 days a year, that could be in the middle of the summer, it could be in the staff holidays, are we genuinely comfortable that we can meet that 10-day deadline? Because if we fail to do so, we would be in breach of the options agreement.
Okay, yeah. Should we make a motion, fellow councillors, should we go about it, look into this and then make a motion and see how we can move
Well,
forward?
I think we need to take a decision.
Yeah, just a decision, yeah.
Yeah, if we're comfortable, we can do it in 10 days, that's fine. In my view, we should probably go back to the developer and sort of ask if they are prepared to make a drafting amendment to the text after we've approved it, that says something like, in the event that the council fails to confirm its approval or non-approval within 10 working days, something like without reasonable cause for delay, or allowing for, just to give us a little bit of wiggle room, because in local government, things don't move as quickly as they do in the business world.
So are you saying that you want a conditional clause or so to be placed into this?
Yeah, I'd probably just say some wiggle room rather than a conditional clause, so that if for any reason we don't meet that deadline, they can't sue us for damages, basically.
No, rub my eye, I don't want to say it.
Yeah, just note that.
Let's have that, we'd like to have that.
Oh, yes, please.
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to ask what happens after the option time period has ended?
And so if there is any interruption, so if anybody decides not to, it just kind of falls away and we stay as we are.
Right.
However, the developer has, don't know how to phrase this nicely, has said signage till you have no allotments.
So, no, it's in the look again.
In a nice
way.
nice
So I don't know how you can put this in a nice way, but his argument would be.
Yeah. If
Developers
we
and
don't
it's a
swap,
just.
they're going to close the gate.
To be honest, my only standard, we only have walking right way over that land, we don't have drivable access. So we then have to go through, and argue with the county to try and knock a road in through the hedgerow and all sorts of Stapleton Road, which would be an absolute nightmare. So, yeah, we're kind of in the wrong,
Stuck between a rock and a hard place.
yes, absolutely.
I think everybody has added his or her voice. Should we go for a vote? Yeah. Okay, who all is for? Can you show?
With the amendment.
Yeah, with the amendment, yes.
Yeah, with him, definitely.
Okay, so it's passed. Yeah.
Sorry, Chair.
Yeah,
Now that we've passed it, I didn't want to raise it during the debate, but I do want to make one comment, which is I think it's really important that the officer team engage with both Griggs and the developer to discuss how we are going to communicate this decision. There's obviously been a lot of noise about it, and some really unhelpful sort of comments on social media and so on. But the thing that really concerns me is that it is a complicated agreement. It's been published as part of the council's paperwork, obviously, for transparency and so on, but there's a lot of latitude for people to misunderstand what's gone on here, particularly when it talks about the £1 option fee. And it concerns me that people will say or accuse the town council of selling off the allotments for £1. So I think that as soon as possible, we need a really simple, easy to understand three-way announcement between the town, the developer and the landowner, sets out what we've done, why we've done it, and this all still has to go through planning, and that, really should leave no room for people to misinterpret. I think if we leave it too long to do that, people will fill that vacuum and start saying other things.
oh, yes, Madam Clerk,
So, along the same, we have a call scheduled for tomorrow morning for a more fundamentals officer side of things. What's the message? What dates are we looking at? How are we going to get this out? The developers kindly lent us those boards, but he's going to provide us some with lots of imagery and things like that. So we want to make a big splash about it because it should be read as a positive.
Yeah, no, isn't
yes, yes, yes.
We have to be very careful as well that we're not accused of being predetermined. That we want this, we'll push it even before they've gone to a committee. Because if that gets out, then anything else that's going to happen, I want my house to be double-sized. Because look, I helped you today to do the voting. This is something we're going to be very, very careful about. Not just for the council, it's the people who are watching.
Yeah,
You'd be surprised the number of people who follow
Yeah.
planning
Yeah.
and are ready to jump.
yeah, I'm aware of that.
They're ready to jump.
What I was thinking, maybe to formulate some awareness campaign. Yeah, to put out to the public so that they will get to know what actually it entails, rather than us just going about the things. And, I do not know,
Yeah.
what do you folks?
I
You just said that.
Yeah, I know, it was said, but I'm reiterating it.
Oh, you're, okay. I thought I was going, a bit deaf now.
No, you are in
Okay, I'm not deaf, okay.
I think, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman, we should get the message out that we're actually gaining and not losing.
Yeah,
Because this is something.
We are,
But
We
I'm
actually
just
are.
saying that, we're
Yeah.
not building on that ground, if they want to, we've got another allotment.
Yeah.
But we're actually using, as you just said just now, grey belt, green belt, yellow belt, whatever it is.
yeah.
And, the others have never said black belt, because I do judo.
Yeah, please go ahead.
But
Yeah.
seriously, we've got to be very, very careful of the presentation at the moment. And it mustn't be a political one, it has to be one which is working for the community.
Yeah.
And this is something which I'm expressing now, although I'm on a different side here, I'm getting it clearly, yes, I'll support it, but it has to be for the community,
Yeah,
not political.
I do consider I take your concern into consideration. Yeah, please.
So if I may, just to clarify on that, one of the amendments that we made on the back of the councillor feedback for the option agreement was to clarify the wording regarding the predetermination, where there was a bit that was slightly, could be one way or the other. Feedback from the councillors was to redraft that, and that was one of the changes.
Thank you.
So it's
No, no.
removed the
Because I came tonight, this is the first I've heard of this, and I thought, this has already been predetermined, why are we coming, what's the vote for? Because you already voted, you've already decided, why are we sitting here? But it appears we can turn it back again to its original.
Yeah.
Honestly, very good.
And would it be possible to hold like an information session like we did in the local plan for a day where people can pop in, ask questions?
I think
Absolutely, that's part of the call we've got tomorrow, is
Right.
how we want to plan a strategy of communication.
I think with regards to this issue, I think we need to move forward. We've already exhausted a lot.
Yeah.
We've already voted on it. Finally, yeah.
There's quite a number of people who use the allotment.
Yeah.
Although it's in a disgraceful state, you say.
Yeah.
Has this been discussed with them about the move? And are they with us?
Yeah,
Or are they going to oppose and create the noise?
well, I personally, the last time when we visited the allotment, the folks, we talked with the folks, Tracy, Rebecca, Councilor Kaza, we all went to the place and people were excited about it. The only concern was we didn't have water and water passage and other things and to go through. But this has been addressed. So,
Compensation.
why do we?
Compensation.
No, we're not.
There is none.
No, we did not talk about compensation, nothing of the kind.
Okay.
Yeah, please. I think we can move forward.
We can, there was a public consultation by the developer at Ormond
yeah.
Football Club from which this information is. The large majority are in favour once they're understanding what we're doing. There will always be some who are not, but
It's been,
as we currently are, it's an allotment or no allotment,
once it's codified, it's understandable.
yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much. There's no public to participate, so I think the close of the meeting is yeah. So, for exclusion, I do apologize. Okay.
The exclusion.